creepy stories behind your favorite Disney films. Disney has a long history of translating fairy tales into popular animated movies about happy princes and princesses. In the end, the Disney villain receives some just punishment, and the prince and princess live happily ever after. Well, sometimes Disney makes drastic changes to the original fairy tales, because the truth is, the original fairy tales can get downright creepy. The Little Mermaid. So in the Disney version of The Little Mermaid, Ariel makes a deal with a sea witch to give up her voice in order to become human for 3 days to pursue a prince she's fallen in love with. If things don't work out, she turns back into a mermaid. But of course it's Disney, so in the end everything pretty much works out great, and Ariel and the prince live happily ever after. Well, that's not quite how it went in the original fairy tale that the movie was based on. Danish author Hans Christian Andersen, who wrote the story, wasn't really a happily ever after kind of guy. In the real story of The Little Mermaid, Ariel literally gives up her tongue in exchange for her new set of human legs. And as an added bonus, every step she takes on her new legs feels like she's walking on broken glass. Even worse, if the prince doesn't marry her, she'll die and turn into sea foam. Because you see, in the real version of the story, mermaids don't have souls like human beings do, and therefore she can't go to heaven. So Ariel meets the prince and dances to try to impress him, even though every move she makes causes her excruciating pain. In the end though, the prince dumps the Little Mermaid and marries someone else. Ariel has one option given to her by the sea witch. If she kills the prince and lets his blood drip on her feet, she can become a mermaid again. But in the end, Ariel can't go through with it, so she throws herself into the ocean and becomes sea foam. Sleeping Beauty. In the Disney version of Sleeping Beauty, Princess Aurora meets a handsome prince and falls in love. But because of a curse placed on her by an evil sorceress, she falls into a deep sleep, from which she can only be awakened by a kiss from her prince. Well, that's not quite the way the original story of Sleeping Beauty goes. The princess never meets her prince, but instead is found by a strange married king who sneaks in through a window. The king has his way with Sleeping Beauty while she's still completely unconscious, and then 9 months later, Beauty gives birth to twins and wakes up. So eventually the creepy king returns, and somehow the king and Sleeping Beauty fall in love. Well, the king's wife, the queen, finds out about all this, and needless to say, she isn't too happy. The queen tries to have the twins killed and cooked up in a dish, and then served to the king without him knowing. She then tries to burn Sleeping Beauty at the stake, but the queen fails. The palace cook saves the kids from becoming toddler pudding, and the king stops her from burning Sleeping Beauty. Instead, the king burns the queen alive, and then he marries Sleeping Beauty. Frozen. The Disney film Frozen is about two sisters, one of whom, Princess Elsa, turns everything she touches into ice. She can't control her powers and decides to leave the kingdom. I think everyone pretty much knows the story of Frozen by now, so I don't think any further summary is needed here. Well, the original story that Frozen is based on is called The Snow Queen. It's actually about two childhood friends, a little boy named Kay and a little girl named Gerda. The character that Princess Elsa is based on in the Disney version of Frozen is actually the evil Snow Queen in the original fairy tale. So the story goes that one day the evil Snow Queen steals away the little boy Kay by kissing him twice. One kiss numbs him to the cold, and the second kiss makes him forget all about his friend Gerda and his family. The Snow Queen imprisons the boy in her castle, but eventually Gerda finds him and hugs him, weeping warm tears as they embrace. Gerda's tears magically cure the boy. He remembers everything, and they escape the evil Snow Queen's castle. So, kind of a happy ending, plus no one sings a single song. Cinderella. In Disney's version of Cinderella, Cinderella is a poor girl with an evil stepmother and two wicked stepsisters. She has a fairy godmother who casts a spell that gives her a beautiful dress and carriage so that she can attend the royal ball. There Cinderella meets Prince Charming and he falls in love with her. Unfortunately, Cinderella's magical dress turns back into rags at midnight, so she has to run away, leaving behind one of her glass slippers. The Grand Duke takes the slipper and tries the shoe on every girl in the kingdom. He eventually finds Cinderella, and she and the prince marry and live happily ever after. Well, the original tale of Cinderella by the Brothers Grimm is similar, but Disney left out some very grisly details. In the story, the prince himself travels around the kingdom to find the girl who fits into the slipper. In a desperate attempt to fit into the glass slipper, one of Cinderella's evil stepsisters cuts off her toes, and the other stepsister cuts off her heel. But the prince sees through their tricks when he notices that the slipper is now kind of a bloody mess. So eventually the prince does find Cinderella. She tries on the shoe that apparently only fits her, and they arrange their wedding. Cinderella's two wicked stepsisters attend, trying to gain favor with Cinderella since she will now be the princess of the kingdom, but that doesn't quite work out for them, because at the wedding, some birds fly down and peck out the stepsisters' eyes, leaving them both blind. Beauty and the Beast. In the Disney version of Beauty and the Beast, Maurice, Beauty's father, becomes lost in the woods and seeks shelter inside an old castle. Turns out the castle belongs to the Beast, and he's not too happy about the home invasion. So he throws Maurice in the dungeon. Maurice's daughter Belle, aka Beauty, comes looking for her father and finds him locked in the Beast's castle. She makes a deal with the Beast that if he releases her father, she'll take his place. So Belle stays with the Beast, who is shown to often be very angry and moody towards Belle, sometimes even downright frightening. But eventually the Beast becomes calmer and kinder towards Belle, and the two realize that they're in love. Then poof, he turns into a handsome prince and they live happily ever after. Now there are several odd differences between the Disney version and the original story. For one, in the original, the Beast, while remaining hidden in the shadows, actually welcomes Belle's father Maurice into his castle and provides him with food and lodging for the night. But then, as he is leaving, Maurice picks a rose from the castle garden to give to his daughter Belle. And for some reason, this just makes the Beast completely flip out. He tells Maurice that he's gonna kill him for picking the rose. Maurice pleads for his life and agrees to send one of his daughters back to live with the Beast if he'll just let him go. So Beauty comes back to live with the Beast, but unlike the Disney movie, the Beast doesn't treat her rudely at all. In fact, he gives her the run of the entire castle and presents her with glamorous clothes, gifts, and amusements. They have dinner and long romantic conversations every single night. At the end of each night, the Beast professes his love for Beauty and asks her to marry him. However, Beauty always refuses his proposal, because even though she cares about the Beast as a friend, she just finds him too ugly to love as anything more. So in the original story, Beauty has 3 brothers and 2 jealous, somewhat evil older sisters. At some point, Beauty begins to miss her family and asks the Beast if she can go visit them. The Beast says that she can go as long as she returns within 7 days. When Beauty arrives at home, her sisters are immediately jealous of her expensive clothing and jewelry that the Beast has given her. So in a devious plot, the sisters pretend to cry and tell Beauty how much they've missed her, and convince her to stay a week longer than her agreement with the Beast. The jealous sisters are secretly hoping that this will anger the Beast so much that he will kill and eat Beauty. Eventually, Beauty returns to the castle, only to find the Beast almost dead, having starved himself for every day that Beauty did not return. Beauty kneels next to him, and while weeping, she tells him that she now realizes that she really does love him. So, the evil spell is broken, and the Beast turns back into a handsome prince. Beauty and the prince get married and live happily ever after. Oh, but remember Beauty's evil sisters? In another dark turn in the original story, the sisters get turned into stone so that they can remain in the castle every day as statues to witness Beauty's happiness.